Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Made Possible by Pop Culture, the podcast where we deep dive into influential pieces of pop culture's past and present from my guests' lives. Today, I am so excited to welcome Luke Tennie to the podcast. He is currently running the gamut on TV in the mockumentary situation comedy Abbott Elementary, the streaming dramedy Shrinking, and the most dramatic medical series, The Pitt. But you also know him from Deadly Class, Players, Nickel Boys, and more. There's a lot to talk about, obviously, so let's get right to it. Luke, welcome to Made Possible by Pop Culture.
Thank you. It was such a flattering intro.
Well, it's funny because I feel like the first thing I saw you in was actually not even something I mentioned. It was either Snowfall or Shock and Awe. I know Shock and Awe.
You watched Shock and Awe?
I did, and I know that technically came out first, but I was covering TV at the time, so I fell
Actually,
behind on movies.
Shock and Awe came out right after Snowfall.
Oh, well then I don't
Yeah.
feel as bad.
No,
Okay.
don't feel bad. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and though, I mean, obviously very dramatic roles, and now you're leaning into a little bit more of comedy. But I want to take you back to early days, like when you first started thinking you wanted to be an actor, because I know you grew up playing sports, and maybe sports was something you thought you wanted to do for a minute, but then at some point you said you wanted to be an actor. Where did you start in terms of I want to be a dramatic actor or I want to be a comedic actor? Did you have an idea at the beginning where you wanted your career to go?
I knew exactly what I wanted to do. Straight comedy, goofball comedy, slapstick, funny ha. I'm trying to make I'm trying to have people doubled over, wheezing, because I watched Martin and Fresh Prince and George Lopez and Full House. And I was just like, I'm going to be a sitcom guy. I get to college, Othello, Macbeth, Hamlet, like the most dramatic stuff, Oedipus Rex, Medea. It was just, when you're learning the foundational texts,
Yeah.
it's rare that they'll start you off with a comedy, they want to make sure you don't get hooked to making people laugh. Eventually, we got into the Midsummer, Romeo and Juliet, which like them first three acts, that's a funny play until the kids start dying, It's like,
Yeah, I mean, I think it also depends on you were reading the straight text. You weren't necessarily watching an adaptation of it.
no, at first we would read them and then we would put them on their feet.
Right.
And a lot of the scenes, unless we were doing like the obvious dramatic scenes, are like funny.
Mhm.
So we got to learn a great deal. So for me, I thought I was going to be doing comedy right off the rip. I did not see myself as someone anyone would take seriously in any regard. So I that was the extent of my imagination as far as where I'd go. As soon as I decided I wanted to be an actor, I thought I'm going to make people laugh.
We don't need to get into the weeds of this movie because it was almost a decade ago, but like Shock and Awe being directed by the late great Rob Reiner, did you assume going in for something like that, maybe that is an opportunity to do comedy and then learn, oh, wait, it's about war? Or did you kind of know what you were getting into from the start?
Yeah, I knew what I was getting into. Honestly, reading the script, I was surprised at how it played out. It was just very straightforward, like geopolitical sort of commentary, biographical picture.
Hmm.
It was about, I played one of the only fictional characters in the movie. Everybody else was real people. It's interspliced with a bunch of actual real footage. But yeah, I knew what I was getting into, but I was surprised that he was interested in making that because at that time I didn't realize how political his platform was. I just knew the movies that he made, but he was like a pretty prominent activist, and I
Yeah.
discovered that in my adulthood.
Yeah. I will say, I mean, I think that when you seem surprised to hear I saw that movie and I was like, I think
Yeah,
that's
big
also it's a common thing, like it's so long ago to talk about it now. Maybe you forget that I'll be honest, I kind of forgot about it until when he passed away. I was like going through all of the movies of his that I had loved, and I was like, oh, that's right. I I knew he directed it intellectually, but like I kind of forgot because it wasn't one of the ones that come to the top of your mind. And so that's I think why it was fresh on my mind today. I mean, even though, we're a few months past that now, but it's so interesting also, I think, to see to listen to you talk about like your comedic influences when you were younger. You listed a lot of great sitcoms, But that's not the thing that you chose to talk about today for your past influence. And I do always like to start there with kind of like what made you who you are today. And you picked an anime, which I was very excited about because it's one that is easily available for everybody who wants to go check it out after you listen to this podcast. Tell us a little bit about, I assume you were like young, like correct me if I'm wrong, but I assume you were like 10 or 11 when you found this back in the day based on when it came
Correct.
out. Tell me
Yeah.
a little bit about like little Luke, like where you were when you found this in your life, like physically, but also where you were in the sense of what you were looking for at the time in the things that you watched that drew you to this.
I had just gotten a computer in my room, which was like a big deal in my family. I just followed all the rules, you know? And when I finished my homework, winding down, it was my TV. You know, it didn't have cable. So I had to like find the kind of stuff I wanted to watch because people would be watching TV out in the main room. And I was, you know, I'm the youngest of three. I didn't get the opportunity to do all of that. So I was rewatching Dragon Ball Z, which I loved. You know, it's a tentpole anime. But when I finished it, I asked a bunch of friends. I was in middle school. So maybe I was like 13, 14, maybe 13. But I was asking my classmates, like, what other anime can I watch? They're like, you should watch Naruto. I was like, I heard about this. I don't think I'm going to like it. So I go home, I turn on Naruto, and I get like 10 minutes in and I turn it off.
Oh,
I was like, this show is butt. I do not want to watch this. I hate this little yellow haired cretin. Why is he such a jerk? I could not stand Naruto.
wait, I want to go back for a second because you said a second ago like you didn't think you were going to watch it, but you gave it a shot anyway,
Yeah.
ultimately. What made you even say I'm going to give it a shot when I don't think I'm going to like it? Because I think I'll speak for myself. If I think I'm not going to like something, I'm usually right. And so I never check it out. But in this case, it feels like if you had been like me, you would have missed something really informative. So,
Fundamental in my DNA, I would have missed it. I would not be the same man I am today, which is why I chose to talk about you. Cool show, by the way. Really good idea. Good job. Um, but yeah, so I could not stand him because he was insufferable and he was what I identified as the opposite of me.
okay.
I followed all the rules. I didn't get a referral, detention, demerit. I didn't get sent out to class. Even if I was kind of on the ropes in kinds of trouble. There's this one moment where a teacher, I thought I was so right. She had told me, she said, I'm going to call your father. I started telling her his number. I was like, call him. Because I'm not wrong. I was that self-righteous, you know? And then I see Naruto just seeing every rule, breaking them. In the
Mhm.
first episode, breaking all the rules. So I didn't like him because he was a rule breaker and I was supposed to feel sorry for him. And
Oh, I
then,
see.
yeah, I go back to these classmates. I'm like, I ain't watching that show. It's like these new Disney shows. You know, I was a rule follower. These new Disney shows with these kids who disrespect their parents. I was like, you can disagree with your parents, but don't disrespect them. Like
Hmm.
I really had this righteous mentality of like, I don't like to consume media where they're trying to uplift a sort of like mean spirited bad boy
Hmm.
disrespectful behavior. Like everybody needs to be treated with respect. And they're like, you gotta keep watching Naruto. I made it, I made it into like episode 10, 12. It's like the
Okay.
first time he has to fight, you know?
That
And
honestly, that's pretty far in for someone who didn't like it. Again, most people turn it off one, two, maybe three episodes. So I'm giving you a lot of credit for sticking with it when you didn't like it.
you know, these people kept telling me it was like perfect for me, you know, like no, a lot of who you are is in that show. I'm like, okay. And then by the time there's this one moment where, you know, Naruto is a show about ninjas.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, they're child soldiers. There's not enough people to defend this village who are adults. So when you're a kid, you just soldier up and you figure out how to protect your village or die trying. Very, very harsh reality. But this kid Naruto is shunned by the entire village for reasons he doesn't know. It's a lot to explain. But no one likes him. And he finally gets into this squad. He graduates, he becomes a young ninja. And there's this moment where it's kind of do or die. And there's this big villain who captures his sensei. And everyone's panicking except Naruto. For some reason, he just feels like he can figure this out.
Yeah.
He charges this guy screaming, and this is like a huge, full-grown adult murderous man. He's going to kill this boy, and he kicks him in the face, and he scoots all the way back, And then what Naruto holds up in his hand after being brutally kicked was his headband, which has the symbol of his village on it. And then he puts it on his forehead, he tightens it, and both his teammates say, "Why'd you do that? That was dumb." He was like, "I don't fight without my headband." And I was like, I was kind of caught like, why does he love this village that hates him so much?
Mm.
All of a sudden, I got water in my eyes, choked up, trying to figure out, okay, so what's he going to do now? And then he makes this plan with his teammates. They trust him and they free their sensei. And once their sensei is free, they don't have to fight no more because sensei is swole. So he puts the brakes on this dude, stops him. But I just kept feeling this thing like, why does he choose to love these people who hate him? And then I had to keep watching, and I had to keep watching. I learned that he was the hardest worker in the room. I learned that he was somebody who lacked talent but had all the drive. I learned that he was somebody with great potential only if he had decided he was willing to sacrifice fun, time, effort, community, just so he could attain his one opportunity to become somebody other people respect.
Mm-hmm.
His goal is to run the village. And everybody's like, "You're really annoying." It's like a kid saying, "I want to be president." Shut up.
Yeah, but some of those kids grow up to do that. So,
And as you watch the show, it gets more and more apparent to you that this man will either become the president or die trying.
yeah.
And that is just, every time I think about that moment where he went to grab that headband, it was the first time I felt convicted in judging someone who wanted to get attention by breaking the rules and then say, "Oh, maybe instead of me just breaking these rules, I should be in pursuit of what is required of me to be the president.
Okay.
Maybe I should attain power. Maybe I should attain trust. Maybe I should prove to these people that I'm a valued teammate instead of just breaking the rules."
Yeah.
So it was just this incredible journey for me. And Naruto was the same age as me throughout his entire and now we're still the same age.
Right.
His story's still going on. We the same age. It's the craziest thing. Like, the more that character ages, the more I can see his parallel with my own life and the lives of a lot of my friends who are inspired by the same material. So
yeah, it's also really interesting to hear you talk about why does he want to be a part of this village? You didn't phrase it exactly this way, but this is what I was thinking about when I was watching it was I come from that mentality of like, I don't want to be somewhere I'm not wanted, and I don't know why somebody else would. But you watch all of these narratives where people are fighting through that to show their worth to the people around them that don't want them, to prove that they are worth something, and also, to strengthen themselves. And so that was something that I really, I watched this for the first time a couple weeks ago when you said you wanted to pick this. And so I was like, that, it was so interesting that I'm connecting to that now as an adult, hearing you say you were connecting to that when you were younger. I think that's what's so important about these stories is that you can have that journey no matter when you watch it, no matter what age you are, because the nugget there, like the piece of the story is such an important one to learn no matter what, no matter where, no matter how, because I will also say that like being that it's an anime, it felt to me a little bit more powerful because of all of the cool stuff they could do with the animation and
Jutsu,
like
we're
the
fighting.
fighting. Yeah, it was just there was something there to me.
Very like a life-changing moral. Yeah. But I think as I watched that, I felt so convicted because I identified with the villagers who always, and if you've seen the first few episodes, they are so mean to that kid. And then I realized that was me. I can't stand him. He's breaking all these rules. And for what? I was like, I am a villager. And here I am judging somebody who needs love.
Mm.
And if one thing had gone different, if one teammate had decided to treat him differently, if Sasuke and Sakura decided not to share their food, I don't know if you got that far, but
yeah. Oh, I watched it all, which was I will say I watched it all. There were 5 seasons available. So the original one, not then there was a second second series.
Yeah.
Right. So I didn't get to the second series.
All the Naruto?
Yeah, because I prepared for this.
You didn't even skip the filler. Like there's
what filler? No. What filler? No, it's all listen, as somebody who has written about film and TV for my, I did traditional journalism, writing about it for the majority of my career. Now I'm doing podcasting, but that is what you do. Like you can't. I said that some people will turn it off if they don't like it after episodes 2 or 3. But when I'm covering something or even to talk to somebody who it wants to talk about it, like you can't do that. Even if I hadn't liked it, I was like, I have to keep going. I have to see what you
Oh,
see in it. And if I don't see what you see in it, that's where my questions will come from. Like I'll be, my questions get harder when I don't like something that somebody
yeah.
else has picked because I'm like, explain it. I need to see what you see. But no,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it was so interesting to me about the fact that like, well, I'm an old woman now watching this and it's still very powerful. And I don't know that I would have cried watching it as a child, but I cried watching it as an adult.
Yo, what is it with that show? Because like, so since I know how much you've watched, which is incredible, you even watched the filler. Like, shout out to you. But
I don't think you should be calling it filler, but okay, go
that's
ahead.
literally what it's called.
I thought you were saying okay. I
Yeah.
didn't
So
go
yeah,
ahead.
like, or when they create an anime, it's based off of the comics from the
Yes.
original Japanese creators, and then there are some times where the Japanese comic book will not be published, but they're like, we can still make money on this TV show, so they just make up stuff, and it
Gotcha.
didn't actually happen in the true adaptation, and they call it filler. Some of it can be exceptional, but
Yeah,
other
well, that's because I
it's
was
not.
hearing you say filler, and I was thinking like when we call a bad episode of TV filler, you know what I mean? That's what I was
Yeah, it's
thinking
just
of it that
bad
way.
TV because they made
Yeah, this
it.
is,
In Naruto, it's like it's actually not a part of Naruto's
yeah.
like actual journey per the source material, you know? That's crazy.
So wait, let me back up. Did you read the source material too, or were you
No,
strictly?
I had only watched it. I didn't actually know that animes were based off of manga until I was like 17. And then I was like, yo, maybe I should read that, but I don't like to read as much as normal people. My wife loves to read, and I'm like,
I'm
I wish I could do that.
if you've already received the story a certain way,
Yeah.
sometimes you then get it, whether it's source material or adaptation, like with whatever you start with, usually ends up, I feel, being the one that you like more.
Right.
So it's like it's almost like why go backwards if you don't have to go backwards? You
Yeah.
don't want. I don't like to sully my opinion of something. Like I read a lot. I'll read a book first. I'll see the adaptation. It is very rare that I'll like the adaptation more than I like the book. So
First way you were introduced. It's the medium that brought you the characters. And for
yes,
me too, the music in Naruto is like super unique. Like they have these traditional Japanese instruments mixed with like 2000s rock,
yeah,
which which to me is like the coolest way to like modernize and kind of delve into what, and it sounds like Naruto. Like since you've seen it, which is
yeah.
crazy, when Naruto finally learns the Rasengan, allow me to be impressed. Yo, I had to work for 10 years to get my shorty to watch it. And she had two of my babies. Okay. But
Well,
I
I
got
mean,
her to watch
I
Naruto.
just feel I'm, in my head, the reason I keep laughing and making the faces that no one can really see is because in my head, I'm like thinking about all of the projects you've worked on that you've been interviewed about that I hope people have seen. Like, you not expecting me to have seen this thing you want to talk about that you didn't work on is one thing. But then I also know a lot of times actors get interviewed and it's very clear that the questions they're being asked, the person hasn't seen what they've done. And
Yeah.
I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I hope he's not connecting that for later. I have
No,
seen
no, no, no.
everything. So,
I'm simply impressed because I guess I would have expected you to watch maybe like 10, maybe a season if you had the time.
I mean,
But
I had the time. That's exactly it. If I didn't have the time, I probably would have just done that first season because, talking about that arc where you see him actually, excuse me, where you see him actually have that moment of acceptance. But I had the time and I liked it.
thank you. I loved it. So there's a moment I want to highlight which also inspired me, and it's the whole through line of Gara. Did you watch it in the English version?
I did, yeah. That's the one thing because I had a multitask when I was doing it, so I
Yeah,
couldn't
of
read the
course.
subtitles.
You
No,
can't read
normally I like
subtitles.
to read subtitles, but
I love the English performers on that, particularly the actor who plays Gara. I can't remember his name right now, but Gara essentially represents what Naruto would be had he not found love. You know, that whole arc of him being there, come cut from the same cloth. They both serve the same purpose in their village. They both harbor these monsters, right? But one found love through fighting for it, and one fought for love and was rejected. And the coolest thing was the only person who could actually defeat Gara was Naruto, because Naruto didn't just defeat Gara physically. That's the coolest thing about anime. There is a
hmm.
philosophical battle. And if the philosophical battle is not complete, then the battle is not complete. And you can see that reflect through every battle over the course of the show. When they're fighting with Zabuza, and then Haku comes and steals Zabuza's body as if he killed him, there was no philosophical completion yet. They had to complete the arc for Naruto to challenge Zabuza and say, how dare you? How dare you act like you didn't love that man? He was your friend. And then when he convicted Zabuza and you see the tears fall from his eyes and he say, your words cut deep, boy, deeper than any blade. You can see once the philosophical argument is complete, then the battle's over. So it's not even actually about the fight. It's about what's going on philosophically. And Naruto's journey here is learning that the one thing that he hasn't changed, because he's changed himself from weak to strong, he's changed himself from ignorant to knowledgeable, he's changed himself from useless to useful. But the one thing he hasn't changed is that thing that can change people into being more like him. When Zabuza realized he was somebody who actually cared for this young man, then he went and fought and finished the fight on the bridge where the Leaf Ninja didn't have to. So the next version of that, that progression to when Naruto is fighting Gaara, you can see the same thing take place. Gaara is still on the floor, and what does he see? Naruto using his chin, clawing with everything that he can in the sand to stop that man from hurting anyone else in the village. And once Gaara sees that, he has fear for the first time. Stay away, because he couldn't face the idea that someone had more will than him. And he learned that the will fueled by love is far greater than any will fueled by hate. Ooh, that fuel burns clean and it is efficient. And Gaara was like, I need some of that.
Right, which is a very important message to tell today. And I want to talk about if this, as you grew up watching this, because again, it was on for a few years, then it had that extra series. I assume you continued with it and watched the extra series.
That's the best part.
Okay.
That's
So,
when they wrap everything up. Yeah.
but as you're talking about, coming into your growing up, you're figuring out what you want to do with your life, who you want to be as a man, and you're learning these lessons of like the will that it takes to do things through this show. Are there pieces that you found in any of the characters where you felt like, I think this really applies to either the struggle or the conviction I'm going to have to be an actor?
Rock Lee. Rock Lee is a character who's become iconic for being someone with the most drive.
Mm-hmm.
As you see his whole story, being goofy looking kid, figuring out how to excel when he has two detriments. And you might not know like all the lore of this. I've been watching this for 20 years at this point, but like there are 3 different ways you can wield your inner energy, which is called chakra. Taijutsu, which is physical combat. Genjutsu, which is using your energy to make illusions or trick people mentally. And then the other one is using your energy in different forms like blasts or shaping it into a knife, or like the Rasengan, how it's a sphere. And Rock Lee can only use the physical version. He cannot change his chakra nature. He cannot use the energy in any sort of blast. He can't do anything from the mind. So it's like, he's like us. He's like you and I. He's the only like real dude in there. So everybody's shooting off these super blasts and he just got hands, And he had decided, if I cannot use ninjutsu or genjutsu, I will become a splendid ninja using taijutsu. And that mentality is what really moved me, because when I played football, I was tall. Wasn't much else. Wasn't very strong. I wasn't very good. I wasn't very smart. The plays were hard for me. Like I couldn't remember stuff. And I thought to myself, like, the one thing that somebody won't be able to do, though, is knock me over. And the only reason why is because I said so. I would do dumb stuff on the field to, like, make myself believe that the 250-pound man-child in front of me was just going to open like a door when I put my hands on it. And it worked. I would do dumb stuff. I would growl. I would like... Sometimes I would try to make them laugh to catch them off guard.
Oh.
I would like say goofy stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody farted down here. It's stinky. What? Go.
Because you're not
Like,
expecting it.
I would do some dumb stuff like that. I would provoke and cajole in certain ways just so that I could just win. Whatever I could do, and I would not have willed that sort of behavior from myself had I not witnessed Rock Lee take off the
Mm,
weights in his battle against Gara, because him losing that battle did not mean that he had less will. Him losing that battle did not mean that he was weaker. Him losing that battle means that some people have demons.
mm,
Some people have what they call, or how we always refer to Neji as a genius,
mm.
talent or blessings. And that's Gara. The sand acted of its own accord. There was nothing that he could do. And it was the worst matchup. The one guy who doesn't have to think to use his powers is fighting the only guy who's just literally boxing.
I feel like that's kind of what I mean. I can't speak for everybody who watched it when it was originally on, but I feel like that's also a pretty important message to send. Like, look what you can do. Like, you might not win, but you're going to get up, you're going to keep trying, you're going to use what you have to do the best that you can. And I do also feel like the way that you speak about relating to him and the way that I asked the question was more about like how did it compare to, the conviction you needed for being an actor? But I feel like a lot of people who did not go on to a more complicated career like you did also really relate to this character because of those things, because of the thing of like, well, I don't have power either. I don't have all of these literal abilities that are supernatural or extra than whatever. And so if we can watch this fictional character do it, why can't I do something hard?
Exactly. And that's it. And I really do think that the majority of the work that was done by my parents, by my coaches, by anyone who was pouring, by my older siblings, anyone who was pouring life and love into me, was done from those years of like 13 to 18, because
Okay.
I didn't really have a mentality shift when I became an actor. I thought the same way.
Yeah.
So it was done. It was done by that point. I think the same way about acting. I have I don't have it with me, but I just worked on the Pit. They got a lot of jargon on that show, right?
Yes.
A lot of stuff to say. Um, I like to think I'm good at that stuff. The reality of my life right now is I got a newborn who's 6 months
Hmm.
old. We don't have a nanny yet. I got a 2 year old. When I'm home, I'm dad. The thing about acting is you don't just clock in. You have to do work at home
Yeah.
and then go to work. And it's like I need time that I don't have. I have a clicker in my work bag. It's
Hmm.
umpires use when they are marking or tracking pitches. And I will use this app where I can run my lines, and I will click it only when I get through the scene 100%. And I go until I've done it 100 times. I just do it. Doesn't matter what the excuse is. I just do it because so many people would die for a chance to work on the Pit. And somebody hired me. I wherever I'm at in the grocery store, my
Well,
headphones
that
on.
that was what I was going to ask you. Yeah, because if you're a dad when
Wipe
you're
your
at
butt.
home, where are you finding the time to do a
I'm
hundred?
not. I'm making the time. Before I go to bed, click, click.
Mm,
In the car, click, click, click. It's like there's just no other way to do it. You
yeah.
have to figure it out, man. I'm super blessed to have these awesome opportunities, and this is the time. Man, I can't believe anything was ever even hard before I had kids.
Well,
Man, like,
it's a different kind of hard. I mean, it's just less to juggle, right? Like
yeah, I
it
didn't know.
the work is always going to be hard because you have to do as you said, like there's a lot of extra that I think maybe people don't think about. They think maybe you go to work, you're sitting in the hair and makeup trailer, maybe that's when you're learning your lines. No, that's not enough time for most of these things. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff you have to do to get into a character, especially a character that you're playing for an ongoing amount of time. I mean, like, I would argue that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, please, but I would argue maybe it's a little easier on Shrinking now that it was a third season and you know this guy so well compared to getting into Dr. Henderson first season, a lot of jargon on the Pit.
Mhm. Well, I mean, yeah, I think so. Also, because shrinking is, I don't think it's a secret that that's like an easy show. We're like having a good time. We shoot in Pasadena. We all got chemistry. All you got to do is make sure you understand fundamentally what's going on with your character. Show up with your lines down, and it's a party. And by design, I don't think you could cultivate a show that feels like a hug without it being like that on set. However, on the Pit, I'm pretty sure I taught my adrenal glands to fire, and I'm new. So I'm like, what are these guys going through? Huh?
Well, but again, they might be used to it now because they did a whole season, and so it might be easier to. I don't know. I mean, I'm not here to speak for them.
Insane. I was talking with Taylor, um, who plays Dr. King,
Mhm.
and she said, be prepared if you've got a surgery scene coming up. You might experience some of that adrenaline. I was like, what
Yes.
you? She was like, yeah, you'll see. I was like, oh, okay. So I'm doing it, right? And then we go back to the room to relax. And then I'm talking and all that stuff. And I was excited and we just got that turnaround. And then I'm like crashing. And she's like, that's it. What's
Yep.
going on? Like your adrenal glands were firing. You probably were feeling kind of like how a real doctor would, except you're not one. So you don't know how to handle all that. And now we have to go and do it again from the other direction. I was
Right.
like, noted. Okay. I would just come home and crash.
Yeah.
But it was
Yeah.
one of those fulfilling experiences from work because it feels like it almost feels like what we're making exists outside of the room that we're making it in. It's like this thing we're trying to live up to, which is really exciting. Whereas on shrinking, it's like we are trying to capture exactly how we feel on set and send that out to people.
Yeah. That makes
Totally.
sense. I mean, I feel like I feel like watching it, you do feel that. It does feel, and I think this is true of all of Bill's shows, honestly, from the past. Like you get to a point where everyone knows each other, they're gelling with each other by episode maybe 3 or 4 of that first season, and it feels like you're just stepping into their community. And it doesn't feel like you're watching somebody work the way that, I mean, honestly, The Pit is a workplace show, so you feel the work in a different way. But I mean, on Shrinking, it feels very much, especially season 3, where like this whole thing is like you need to move forward. This whole theme of, they've been through all of these different things individually and together, and now the therapy, quote unquote, lesson for all of us is how do we move on? How do we move forward from what we've been through? Not forgetting the past, but maybe forgiving it and then being okay. And I do want to talk to you about that particular theme because so much of the show also feels like a lot of the characters need to find a person, especially in this third season, to like avoid loneliness or dwelling in the past. But it doesn't really feel that way to me for your character. It feels like he's very good with his routine. He's very good with where he is right now, who he is right now. And obviously, we're taping this, spoiler alert for everybody. We're taping this before the end of the season, so I'm not asking you about how this applies to the finale, but I am curious if you feel like, especially when it comes to that routine, does he need it or is he actually happy in these moments where he's saying like, "Oh, I don't want to go to this party because I like working in my truck. It's Friday night. I work in my truck." Things like that.
Mhm. That I Hey, you're good at this. I think you're clocking some really cool stuff. You use the word does he need it? I think that is kind of what shrinking's about. To use Ted Lasso as an example, it's about a bunch of like people who should be happy who are sad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I'm on the worst soccer team. You play professional football. Go get your bet. You gonna be all right. It's kind of that. And it's like how these people are gonna navigate finding happiness when they feel like they should be happy. And then shrinking's the opposite. It's people who have every right to be sad, trying to be happy. So at this point, I don't think Sean does need it, but I think he knows that. It's about what he wants at this point. It's about bonus. It's about extra. It's about what would be nice as opposed to what would keep him from dying.
Mm.
You know, as somebody who's grown past that, now he has to figure out, huh, it was so clear to me what I needed to do when it was about surviving, when it was about staying alive. And now no one can really tell him, hey, don't do that. That leads towards death. Don't do that. That leads towards losing the people you love in your life. There's a big difference between that, which is very clear, and when you're in a place where everything's pretty nice. So it's up to you now. It's solely his
Yeah.
decision. It's his discretion. So he needs to figure out what he wants, because the benefit of needing something is the clarity of knowing what you need to do.
Yeah.
There's nothing you need to do when you just want something. And that's where we're at. And I think a lot of people are going to connect with that, because so many people struggle with things like that. I see it on a day-to-day basis, especially in this world where it's like, what should I do? People don't know what to eat, don't know what career path to do. Everybody's trying to figure out, should I rent or should I buy? Is it even worth it? Should I take this job? Should I not? Should I
Hmm.
spend this money? Should I not? And none of it matters. You're correct. So what do you want to do? And now we're seeing that in Shrinking, which is a
Yeah.
little closer to like Ted Lasso area, but it's with these characters who are coming from the valley as opposed to people falling from the mountain.
Where do you feel like Marisol fits in there though? Because they came back together, but what I found so interesting about the way that they came back together was that she didn't really apologize, and I kept waiting for her to apologize. He's off fighting a war. She breaks up with him in a letter. And granted, he's opened up to saying like, "Oh, I wasn't the best to her either." But when she comes back, she has this energy that is, I would argue, like kind of infectious in the way that like maybe you want to be around this person. Like she's able to just move forward the way that everyone on the show is saying to do. And yet, don't you have to close the old wound? Do you feel like that's still simmering under the surface for Sean at all in terms of like, is there an old wound? Is there something that they still have to get over together? Or can he just accept truly like the speech that she gave about, it's in the past?
So I know nothing about season 4. How much have you seen of season
I've
3?
seen all of season three, but like I don't want to talk about the finale because we're not there yet. I just
Okay.
wanted to get your point of view from like shooting that stuff with her and the fact that they are in a relationship, like they are together. And he seems happy. Like it does seem like it's what he wants, but I do wonder if you in the back of your head are like, there's still something there that he needs to work through that he's not verbalizing yet.
For me,
Yeah.
big time, like as Luke.
Yeah.
No, we ain't doing that. No, 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 no. I'm big on sorries. I'm big on them. I don't care if they fake sorries. I'll take them. People want to say, "Oh, I'm sorry you feel that way." I'm like, "Ooh, I really appreciate how you put your big boy pants on and you said sorry. You said it in that bootleg, ratchet, nasty, disrespectful way, but I take it because you gave it to me." This man, Sean, he ain't asked for none of that. He's a different dude than me. But what I find is interesting to play is if any of that might bubble up. You know,
Hmm.
I know nothing about season 4,
Right.
but I really, really hope that they explore like old wounds coming up. Because right now it's looking mad peachy keen. And I've been specific in my performance to make sure that like there are certain things that are kind of on a razor's edge with Sean.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of that's clear. Maybe they didn't use any of those takes. But from my perspective, I wanted to make sure it's like for some reason, no matter how far you go, right when you turn around, there's the wound.
Yeah.
I don't want the wound to feel far away.
Yeah. I mean, you just said you don't know if they use the takes. Do you watch it? Do you ever watch the final cuts to know if they use it? I mean, I know you guys shoot it so early from when it actually comes out for the public, but I almost wonder like if you're doing a whole bunch of stuff they're not using, do you then need to watch it to adjust what you're doing next for next
So I
season?
I got respect for actors who are like, I don't watch my work, but bro, I'm on TV. I'm watching that.
Okay.
The little boy in me who was watching Naruto in his bedroom is on TV. I'm watching that.
Yeah.
So I'm watching it to like get better, but I'm also like watching it because that's cool. When the homies book gigs, hey, let's watch it. We have little watch parties. Let's celebrate. So for me,
Oh,
any way I feel about my performance pales in comparison to the gratitude I feel for being able to do this job. And I think part of that gratitude is consuming the work everyone else put into the show.
Yeah.
I'm not watch something and I'm going to miss out on what the editor did, what the music supervisor did, what all my other castmates did. No, I want to be a part of consuming that so I can praise these people despite what I might feel like about myself. That said, in terms of this specific thing that we're talking about, you
Or,
know,
I mean, I guess really any of it, because I feel like if you shot, three different versions of the scene with Harrison Ford saying, should I interview for the sous chef job? Should I stick with my truck? Like, which version they use might affect what you do then later when they announce your decision in the show.
and
But
that's the
again,
main
you might
reason,
not be able to see it that early to know. So,
and that's the main reason why I want to watch the work that I do, because I want to know who they created in the edit. Because there's like a different
right.
there's
Yeah,
like a
no, it's
different
true. It's
dude
your
that made
version, the director's version, and then the final cut.
and then usually it's like some amalgamation. Sometimes I'll watch a scene and I'll be like, oh, I remember that take. It makes sense that they picked that take. Other times it's like a marriage of like 4 to 5 different takes. It's like a different take for every line. And I'm like, oh, interesting. And then I find like the diversity of Sean in that. But what's weird is like I might do 3 lines very differently in one take. But if you look across 3 different takes, I did each one of these lines the same. And now Sean looks straight, like he looks very
Hmm.
straight down the barrel. And then I learn, oh, okay, that gives me the fuel when I start reading the scripts from season 4 on how to approach my character. So I always make sure, and I do it like first I watch it when they send this to me, and then before I start work again, I rewatch everything, and then I'll not only rewatch like for Sean, I'll rewatch and look like very carefully at who I'm playing with in the scene because I like to make sure the relationships are clear.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what does this person think of me in this moment? And that really helps me build out why I would be saying this the way I want to say it when I read the next season. So I kind of obsess over that stuff. I don't know if any of that comes across when I'm performing, and I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can tell you're obsessing over it. Like what we see is just like the final results. That is what everybody decided was the best result, and it works. So, I mean, who knows what, I don't know what the other takes look like. I don't know how much time you spent worrying about which take they used, but I hate to say it, it doesn't matter to the
It really
viewer.
doesn't. It does not.
Like we just
Nor
want to
should
see
it.
what
That's
you
not their
do at the end.
responsibility. It's just it's simply it's not important. And I know a lot of actors might feel some type of way about hearing that, but that's the truth. But I think it's okay for us to do our things and like be passionate and
Hmm.
because that might get to that one take that really makes your character extremely clear.
Yeah.
Not that makes you shine as an actor, not that makes people laugh. The one take that's true, you know? And if that's what helps you get there, great. For me, that's what helps me get there. But it ain't nobody's business. They just supposed to press play and enjoy.
You did just talk about like the take that makes everybody laugh, and like technically, Shrinking is a comedy. Although I mean, classify it as a comedy, for awards and things like that. But I mean, it's a dramedy when you really break down what's happening in the show. I think because there's so much serious stuff happening just around the idea of therapy, full stop, and then certainly characters personalized. But because we started this conversation with you saying that when you first wanted to be an actor, you thought you were going to play like the goofball and the comic, how much do you find yourself trying to lean in harder on a show like Shrinking into being comedic relief in certain moments, like even more than it is on the page? Do you find yourself doing a lot of takes where, yeah, again, not when you're like with Harrison Ford on the therapy couch, maybe, but when you're on the roof and Ted McGinley's in the tree, like that to me feels like there's more room for you to do that. Is that true? How does it work on set in terms of freedom, flexibility, and like your own instincts?
Okay. Yeah, this is a fantastic question. I mean, to reveal my secret, if anyone's watching and kind of discovers this about me, I have this thing where I want to get off camera as fast as I can.
Okay,
And I'm
that seems counterintuitive to your whole career, but okay.
an actor who you can tell loves being on camera. It's just rarely the actor that gets hired or rehired. I am gone. I want you to miss me. So you can clock if anyone gives me an opportunity to dip, to get out, to be quick. That's why I don't know, like I can't think of any examples, but like I just be trying to get off screen. And we're done, and he's gone
Hmm.
because my character wants something, and if he has it or doesn't have it,
Mm.
I'm going to get it, or I've gotten it and I'm done. So there's no reason for me to like linger and do a cool exit or this or that. And I think a lot of the characters I've had the opportunity to play kind of fit that bill. But still, me as an actor, I have this impulse to like save something, to like leave something to be desired, to where they go, oh yeah, it's nice to see this person again. Because the last thing I want is to not get rehired because
Yeah.
I'm like just in everybody's face. And I say that while being on 3 TV shows, but I'm being honest. Being on these shows, I'm running support.
Mm.
I'm not a leading performer, not yet. Until somebody hires me to do that. But it's really easy to watch an offensive lineman block again and again and again. After a while, you're gonna get mad if that same wide receiver is scoring the eighth touchdown, and there's a bunch of other wide receivers. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, for me, that's kind of my approach underneath my character's desire. But in terms of like the comedy with Sean, it's so much fun because it seems like everybody's always trying to make him laugh, and he's
Yeah.
he's trying to not, especially Jimmy. So that's what I find real joy in. However, in season 3, you can really start to see poking through is a lot more joy,
Hmm.
which is me. So I get to be a little bit more me in Sean, which is great. But then on something like Abbott,
I was good. Yeah, that's why I asked the question because I wanted then to then compare it to Abbott, which is obviously your lines are written to be funny.
yes, and in that case, I still operate the same way.
Mhm.
It's like my lines are written to be funny, but like the main cast is supposed to be funnier. So I'm running support. And we get into the real like actor weeds of it, but that's how I think.
Hmm.
I played offensive line on football when I played football. I ran support. I'm doing the same thing right now. If someone hands me the ball, I will score a touchdown. But if the ball's not in my hands, what I look like trying to take the ball from my teammates. I'm blocking for them on their way to score,
Yeah.
especially in comedy. And that's one way. It's a weird thing, but when you are doing that in comedy, you tend to stand out more than if you're like trying to show up for the laugh.
Yeah.
And I think Ted McGinley is a perfect example. He was a recurring guest star in season
Hmm.
1, and they wrote him in that show. They said, we need more Derek. He's a perfect example. He just took the words that they gave him and just
Hmm.
delivered, you know? And I'm like, that's it. That's how you do it. And if it doesn't work, they're just going to cut it. I've seen, there's a bunch of stuff I've tried on shrinking that didn't work. There's a bunch of stuff I've seen Jason and me like workshop that didn't
Hmm.
get into the show. Could be for time, could be because it wasn't funny, but it's fine. So from my perspective, when I'm running support, I get in and I get out. If I have an opportunity to make a joke, I'm gone before like the apex of your laughter. I'm out of here.
But that's on screen. Then when you're just like hanging out, because we were talking about how like you want everybody wants the show to feel how you feel on set. How is that? Is it different? Is it like there is a lot more play or a lot more banter or a lot more like I am trying to get Harrison Ford to laugh, like before
Oh,
they
big,
call action?
big time. It's like we do what's written like twice, maybe 3 times. And then it's just cuckoo, crazy nonsense. Particularly when you get around people who have like that particular set of improv skills, like
Hmm.
Jessica, Michael, Jason, and
Hmm.
Ted. I would say tend to really excel at just keeping it loose. Like those four, but Jason in particular, I want to shine the light on him because I don't know that he knows this. Um, and this isn't to knock the Emmy nominated Jessica and Michael,
Sure.
but they're super sharp in knowing how to enhance these jokes. Their improv is very quick witted and it's always in line with the humor of the show. Jason somehow has found a way to like improv truly in character. Like it's never funny, haha. He's like improving him being a loser. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do, but I also feel like it has to come from writing it too. Like
Probably
he's
because he's the
inside
only one in that
Jimmy.
list. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's the only one in that list who's a writer.
Yeah.
So like he'll never just do something because it's funny. He might do something to set me up to say, that's dumb, Jimmy. Do you feel me?
Yeah.
It's a different level. He's like somebody who makes slam dunks and can send out a bunch of alley oops. And it doesn't matter where you are. He's setting you that ball when you are too close to the rim to miss, you know? And like it's just a different layer, a different level.
Mm.
And then with the other three, it just don't laugh because it's probably going to be in the show, and if you break, it's over. So it's sometimes you can laugh if your character would laugh, you know.
Sure. But
But
I
I'm
mean,
playing the guy who wouldn't freaking laugh, so it's hard.
right. And a lot of the situations are not necessarily, there's a lot of scenes at grave sites and scenes where they've just lost someone or they're fearing that someone might be in trouble because of mental health issues and, hard decisions like what to do about my career. Like you can maybe laugh a little bit at the career part. I don't know. To
Uh-huh.
me, it feels like, no, that's a really big decision. What Sean's gonna do could change his whole life either way. That feels also to me, all of it feels to me like I don't know how you make jokes at some of this stuff, but you guys
Yeah,
find a way.
they'll figure it out.
Yeah,
But that's
yeah.
what's funnily enough to bring it back to Naruto. That show kind of helped me shape my mind in terms of like looking at things categorically, because you have someone like Neji who is a taijutsu specialist as
Hmm.
well. He of course has that Byakugan, which is the eye that allows him to see essentially 360 degrees, X-ray vision using the chakra focused in his eyes. But it's the way that he fights physically, which is so exceptional. And then you have Rock Lee, who is also a taijutsu specialist, but he doesn't have any of that cool chakra needle stuff. He just be smashing people. Like he just brutalizes your body until you can't move it. So it's like you look at those two categories and they serve different purposes on a
Hmm.
squad, you know? So although Neji has that close range combat, he's the scout. He's the person who's going to let
Right.
the squad know where there's danger coming. And he does. And you see that in the Sasuke retrieval arc when they're all chasing down the Sound Ninja 5 to get back Sasuke. And the categories there really kind of helped me shine. And I always connected to Choji because he's a big dude and he was fat, overweight, and there's one thing that he had, which was strength. And I heard this quote, which is, when your only tool is a hammer, a lot of things start to look like nails. And that's how
Hmm.
Choji approaches stuff. He saw the one guy who he knew he could fight. He was like, I got him. Y'all go get Sasuke. I got him. And boy, did he have him. You know, and it's like, you can look at this categorically. Naruto's a pretty strong ninja. He wasn't going to beat that guy. Choji was the one categorically built to beat that guy, to serve that purpose. So in my job now, I still view like categories.
Yeah.
I know right now I run support. And I say right now because I do hope one day someone hands me the ball and I can do the leading thing. I'm also a writer, you know,
I was
so
just gonna say, you can write yourself, you can hand yourself the
yeah,
ball.
can write myself a leading part, you know, provided I have the opportunity to make film. But the main concept there was understanding my fundamental role, because I can be worse than the enemy. I can be worse
Mm.
than my opponents if I am not a good teammate.
Yeah.
So that's where I start. And that's where I can be kind of cocky as an actor and be like, it's no surprise why I got hired for these different shows. I'm blocking for 3 different quarterbacks. Like I'm doing the same job in 3 different shows. Jason, executive producer, writer, star. Noah Wiley, executive producer, writer, star. Quinta Brunson, executive producer, writer, star. I'm
Right.
doing the same job in all 3 projects. I understand that. That's the job I'm good at. So I know how to do that job. I stay in my lane. I block. And every time somebody hands me the ball, there's a moment to shine. I take it with gratitude, but I don't ask for any more than what I am supposed to be doing. And man, I take great pride in running support,
Yeah.
because back when I played offensive line, no matter how well you did, you got no praise. No matter who messed up, you got all the blame. And me running support as an actor, I get to go to these red carpets. You know what I'm saying? I was telling my wife, they put you in a hotel, you get a steak. That's nice. So
I was gonna say
my
there
wife,
are awards, like a steak award. I don't know. I mean,
I
the
like
bar
steak
is
a lot.
okay.
They got nice trophies. So it's me fundamentally understanding my role too, that I learned from Naruto, which is like not everybody can be the point guard, the
Yeah.
wide receiver, but that's okay
Yeah.
because without Choji holding down the fort, Naruto never would have got close enough to Sasuke to try to bring him back. You
I
know,
mean, that's a good attitude to have. I mean, you're on three great shows in three great roles, but I
in the
do think
same
like
goddamn show.
hearing you say like, well, I also write like, yeah, I could see where you're like, if you're waiting, you want to be a lead, you want to be a lead. I could see where then it might be hard sometimes to have that attitude to be like, well, I want to be the lead. Why am I not the lead? But it sounds like you don't have that negativity. Like it sounds like you have just
Ah,
the like, I'm grateful for where I'm at. I'm good at where I'm at. I'll do the other thing next time on another project.
yeah, if it comes my way, and if it never comes my way, what's a good thing I know a writer with my face and brain? He'll cast me. You know, like I'll figure it out. If I want to be a lead that bad, then that
Yeah.
might be the way to do it. But right
Yeah.
now, I'm really rocking with this running support. It's going great. I'm paying bills. I'm on TV. We're
Yeah.
chilling.
And I have to ask you because, this anime is such an important project for you from your childhood. They've been talking about doing a new version of it. And I don't know exactly what that other version is. They haven't been very public about it. But is that the type of project where you feel like I want to be involved somehow? Like, could they cast me as one of the American voices? I want to find out more. I want to get my representatives on that. Or are you just like, I need to stay a fan because I don't want to cross that line?
You know what? I used to be like that about some stuff. I was kind of like that about the pit. I remember telling my lady, I was like, "Yeah, man, this is the kind of show I want to be on." But like, honestly, it's just great being a viewer until the audition comes in. The audition comes in, you're like, "Hey, let's get this thing popping. Let's go." She helped me nail my words. I did my audition and everything, but it's like, no, I'd be in that. I'd be in that immediately, expeditiously, and with enthusiasm. There is a part which he's in the later second part two, Naruto.
Hmm.
His name is Killer B. He's one of the first black characters in Naruto. And bruh, the first time I met that character, I was so mad because he comes out. What's he doing? Rapping.
Oh, yeah.
And then I watched him fight, and I was like, he can rap whatever he wants. I like that. And I've already played a character with cornrows. So I'm like, yo, if anybody want to cast me for Killer B in some sort of voiceover, live action adaptation, I don't care, man. I'd do it. There's just some stuff where if you get a chance, you say yeah. And if there's any way to be affiliated with Naruto in any sort of historical context, yeah, I'm saying yeah.
Okay. But obviously that's whatever's happening with that project is still a long way out, but the shrinking finale is coming up a lot closer. I don't want you to spoil what happens in the finale, but can you set up a little teaser for fans of the show and fans of Sean, who, he's, like I said, we've talked about the changes that are coming in this season already that we see him. Is he going to take a job at this restaurant? Is he going to continue to run the truck? The relationship. I'm going to throw one in. Like, this has been true from very early days. Like, he maybe needs to get out of the pool house. And they've joked about that in season three. Like, can you set up a little teaser for what to expect in the season three finale?
I can. You will likely laugh. You will likely cry. But to all the viewers, what we're trying to do is shrinking is we're trying to do a little bit of the opposite of the 90s, like when you kind of tune in and the characters they stay the same. It was
Oh,
a
yeah.
different time then. It was refreshing and it was like a positive thing to have a constant. That's not what people connect with on TV anymore. That's not to say that that's bad. I still watch those shows. I love those shows. But now the characters have to change. And in Sean's case, there are a couple different categories where he's like lagging. And I think as you watch the season, you'll understand like how this guy's brain works. If you're really looking at stuff from Sean's perspective, he knew he wanted to get better when he first walked into the therapy room. And as he starts ticking these boxes and improving, only a few remain.
Mm,
And you can see in the trailer for season three and in the first episode of season three, he's now convicted when he sees other people not doing what they told him to do.
yeah.
Fancy, he gets uncomfortable. He has to call it out. He has to call out Alice. He has to call out Jimmy. He feels this compulsion to hold himself and others accountable. So Sean before was someone being led, you know. Now Sean is looking like somebody who's going to lead.
Oh, that's great. That also makes me feel better knowing that like some of the things that maybe if we're not entirely on board with the decision that he makes, if we think as a viewer like, oh, I would have made the other decision, I wish he would have made the other decision, it still sounds like it's going to end in a positive way based on what you just said. You don't have to tell me if I'm right or if I'm wrong, but I like hearing that because it makes me feel better about where he's going overall.
When I was in college, they always used to say the easiest distinction of like the classic works in terms of dramas and comedies is if things like end in weddings or end in death.
Yes, but that's not how life works.
No, it's not. So anyway,
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you so
I
much for
like it.
coming on and chatting today.
Yo, hey, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I can't believe you watched Naruto.
I mean,
Thank
I can't
you.
believe I'm sorry you're so surprised. Honestly, it just makes me feel like the people you talk to are not prepared for the interviews you're about to
That
do. And
might be
like,
the case. Perhaps you're just a little exceptional.
no, this
Okay.
is the job. Like, you're supposed to prepare.
Some
Like,
things that a lot of people see as the bare minimum,
I know, but that's honestly, I
that
could get
might be a
into
high bar for others.
it's a whole other podcast episode about how I feel the slippery slope of how journalism has turned in recent years of standards are slipping because of layoffs and fake news and AI and algorithms and all. That's a whole separate conversation that we don't need to have. But just so you know, everybody should always prepare before they talk to you. And you should feel like if they haven't prepared, you shouldn't have to talk to them again. That's all
Okay.
I'm saying. Okay, so before you scatter, here's where you can find the things that we discussed on today's podcast episode. Naruto, the anime, not the manga, is available currently as of February 2026 when we recorded this episode on Netflix, Prime Video, Peacock, Hulu, Crunchyroll, Pluto TV, and more. That's why it was so easy for me to stream those 5 seasons of that original series before talking to Luke, and now you can give it a try too, and you should. Abbott Elementary airs new episodes Wednesdays on ABC and then streams next day on Hulu. The Pitt streams on HBO Max, and Shrinking is available on Apple TV. Thank you, of course, to Luke for coming on, made possible by Pop Culture, the podcast. And thank you all for listening to the episode and or watching it and listening to and or watching previous episodes. I am currently in my 4th season and we've got another new episode coming at you next week. So stick around, come back, I guess. Maybe don't stick around. That might be weird, but come back.